Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Euroman Movie Report, the show where I talk about a movie I have recently watched at my local movie theatre. This week, however, I'm going to talk about two movies. The first movie being All the Money in the World. All the Money in the World is directed by Ridley Scott and is based upon a true event about, in the early 1970s, the grandchild of then oil tycoon and billionaire J. Paul Getty was kidnapped in Italy by criminals and the mafia, and how this kidnapping played out behind the scenes. Nice with a Coca-Cola. And in the role of J. Paul Getty we have Christopher Plummer. Originally the film was produced with Kevin Spacey as J. Paul Getty, even though the movie had been written originally to star Christopher Plummer as Getty. However, the production company and Sony decided that Kevin Spacey at that time was a more bankable face, so they made Ridley Scott put the movie together with Kevin Spacey in old man makeup as J. Paul Getty. However, due to revelations in late 2017, Ridley Scott decided to remove Kevin Spacey from All the Money in the World and asked Christopher Plummer to come and redo Kevin Spacey's scenes. Those scenes were redone in less than 2 weeks, and I must say, after having watched All the Money in the World, it's very impressive that they were able to basically rip a part out of the movie and replace it with something else. And you can easily see in the beginning of the film, there's a scene which was featured in the first trailer, a trailer with Kevin Spacey, that this scene had been redone with Christopher Plummer, but in such a way that they had taken Plummer's face and plastered it onto Kevin Spacey's face for that scene. The movie, as I said, stars Christopher Plummer as J. Paul Getty and Mark Wahlberg as Chase, a former CIA operative, now security aide and advisor to J. Paul Getty, and Michelle Williams as the former daughter-in-law to J. Paul Getty. And I must say, the story, since it's based upon a true story, is very good. Ridley Scott really shows how this kidnapping influenced Michelle Williams' character and how they attempted to solve it. And the young man who plays Paul Getty, the kidnap victim, he does a good job as well, in my opinion. And you really get that 70s feel about the movie. And I must say, Mark Wahlberg, he does an okay job, but the person who really carries this movie is, of course, Christopher Plummer, because he's not a villain in what do we need to say, in most aspects, but he's not a nice person, but he's just he's great at portraying that asshole character. For instance, there's a scene in the first third part of the movie where we have the young Paul Getty meeting his grandfather in a hotel room in Rome together with his family, and then J. Paul Getty's Plummer's character, he has him read aloud some letters from people who asked Getty for money, and where we have Plummer saying as Getty to some woman who asked for money for an operation for her husband, that if he gave all his money away, then he would become poor as them. And the way Plummer, he uses his face to express the views which supposed to be written in the response to that woman. It's really great, and I really hope that Christopher Plummer will get an Oscar for this film, because he is really good, and it's cool to see a guy who has just turned 88 being so great and still being so great at acting. And the other actors and actresses in the movie, they of course do a great job in that role as well. Michelle Williams, she's okay at portraying this woman in dire straits because her son has been kidnapped. And Mark Wahlberg, he's just doing the Mark Wahlberg thing. And the Italian actors they have hired to play the roles of the different Italian characters in the film. I didn't know any of them, but the guy who plays one of the lead kidnappers, he does an okay job in my opinion. So in some ways, I'm not sure if I remember his name, but it was the guy with the hat, and that it really his character really shows that in some ways he may be a criminal, but he wasn't a bad guy, because he didn't want to see the young Paul Getty lose his life. So all in all, if I'm gonna rate All the Money in the World, I will give it 4 out of 5 stars. Next film I'm gonna talk about is, of course, for me personally, the long-awaited The Disaster Artist. The Disaster Artist is based upon the production of the infamous movie The Room, made by this mysterious character, Tommy Wiseau. And personally, I have only seen excerpts from The Room. I have not seen the whole film, but I have seen many comedic reviews of the film, and I hope to see it one day. And in the role as Tommy Wiseau, we have James Franco, and James Franco, he really does a great job as this Tommy Wiseau character, speaking with that very, strange accent. I have later learned that Tommy Wiseau is supposedly from Poland, and James Franco, he really captures that strange accent, so that was great to watch. In the role as Greg, the guy who was the co-star of Tommy Wiseau and friend in The Room, we have James Franco's brother, and I just need to put this Coca-Cola down, so I need to find what we have. We have James Franco's brother, Dave Franco, of course. Dave Franco, who plays Greg, and he does a great job as well. And you really, it's a really comedical film, and it's also in some ways heartwarming, because we really see these two struggling characters trying to put this movie together, and the interaction between the two Franco brothers in the film is really great. The Disaster Artist also contains several cameos by famous people, like Bryan Cranston. We meet him in a scene in a cafeteria where he meets Greg and his then girlfriend. Seth Rogen making a cameo, and Zac Efron as one of the characters from the film, Chris R. And Josh Hutcherson from The Hunger Games, he plays another Room character called Denny. And it was really, even though, as I said, I have never seen the complete The Room film, I've only seen excerpts, the whole cast of The Disaster Artist were really great at mimicking the scenes from The Room, even in when before the credits starts to roll, there are scene by scene comparisons from The Room and scenes the crew behind The Disaster Artist, they shot for the film, and it's really great to see. The Disaster Artist is fun. It's ranchy in some ways, but it's a fun film, and I really laughed at several parts of the film. And the actors, as I said, they do a great job. So if I'm gonna rate The Disaster Artist, I will give it 4 out of 5 stars. That's it, Euroman of Euroman's Movie Report. Thanks for watching my reviews of All the Money in the World and The Disaster Artist. But don't forget, if you liked my review/movie talk, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to watch my previous reviews/movie talks, you can click a link in the description. But I will return next week with another movie talk/movie review. Until then, have a pleasant weekend or what's left of it, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.